Now we turn to an update on a WSAZ investigation. Deadly details denied. We told you back in April when a teenage girl in Boone County was found dead in her home. Investigators saying her body was found in a skeletal state. And while several family members are now charged with child neglect in the girl's death, we wanted to know what the state is doing to protect other children. Tonight, News Channel 3's Curtis Johnson shows us the state's new plan and documents he obtained showing it's an update to an old plan and it's already behind schedule.
A teenager dying of starvation. It's a story that's just unfathomable. But that is exactly what investigators in Boone County say happened to this little girl, Kennedy Miller. Investigators say at just 14 years old, Kennedy Miller's body was found in a skeletal state inside this home in Boone County. The girl's grandparents and mother charged in her death, all three pleading not guilty to the charges. Kennedy's death causing us to ask, what did state officials know before she died? Our investigation revealing 3 instances of people reporting concern for Kennedy to Child Protective Services. The governor's office in June confirming aspects of those reports, saying the allegations were either unfounded or did not meet the definition of abuse or neglect. That leading us to ask at that briefing, what's being done to protect children struggling with mental health or other issues that do not meet the abuse neglect standard? Department of Human Services Secretary Cynthia Pursley saying the department is looking at ways to develop a safety net for those kids by making changes to the way abuse and neglect reports are processed when received by the state's hotline.
We are developing and we have contracted with a company to help build a differentiated response system.
But what is that system? She says it would be an alternative path to provide help to those families. Fast forward 6 weeks to this Wednesday, Pursley's department announcing the kickoff of a new project centered on how decisions are made by those who answer calls into the hotline. The press release stating CPS staff getting an overview this week, calling it a pivotal first step toward establishing a differentiated response system with a goal of statewide implementation in January 2026. But that's where the story takes a turn. After that press conference, I filed a document request to get more information on that differentiated response system. And the documents we received show it's a concept the department has had in place for years, and implementing a new version is already behind schedule. Take a look at this memo. It shows the department revising differentiated response protocols as far back as 2018, 6 years ago, with even more updates in 2021. Another document in July 2022 saying staff would meet on the topic every 2 weeks. Notes from one such meeting in January 2023 saying the commissioner wants this done quickly. Another showing officials hope the program announced this week would be fully implemented by mid-2025, not January 2026 like the goal laid out in that Wednesday press release. So I asked the Department of Human Services for an interview to ask some questions. But Wednesday, a spokesperson responded with, "We will not be accommodating your request for an on-camera interview." I also tried to ask the governor some questions, but his staff not allowing me to join the governor's weekly press briefing Thursday for the 2nd week in a row. That is despite the fact I had RSVP'd both times and even followed up asking for a link to the briefing. Both times staff redirecting me to Human Services. So Thursday afternoon, I emailed my questions to Human Services about the new system. Why has it taken so long to implement? What can be done to help children who need help now? Between now and January 2026, what can be done to make sure those children do not fall through the cracks? And is there any way to speed up implementation? A department spokesperson telling me she may be able to answer those questions by the end of the day Friday. This morning, I also asked the Department of Human Services why in the press release they issued this week, why it calls the new program a pivotal first step toward that differentiated response, since documents that they sent us as part of our Freedom of Information Act request included those memos showing versions of that program have existed since at least 2018. Sarah, the spokesperson, saying that one extra question means she cannot provide me any answers until Monday at the earliest, even answers to the questions I asked yesterday.
All right, thank you, Curtis. We're still analyzing those documents received in our records request, more than 400 documents in all. Despite that number, we have found several apparent gaps, and we have reached out to the department in hopes of receiving any missing documents. We'll keep you updated on what we learn and any answers we get to our questions right here on WSAZ and WSAZ.com.